Hey friends, welcome to an all-in-one video of a recap of my Christmas in July crafts that I recently did here on my channel. I had so much fun doing these crafts, sharing them with you, my community. The timestamps for all of the videos are in the description box below. So let's get started and let me share what I did for Christmas in July. These little paintbrushes from the Dollar Tree and some caulk, I used those to create some Santa ornaments. Now, these are something that I did for years that I sold at craft shows, and I wanted to share them here with my community just to show how you can take ordinary tools and create cute little Christmas ornaments out of them. The handles have a shine on them, and I want to take that off because I'm going to paint the handles. So I'm going to use my little hand sandpaper, and I'm just going to sand that gloss off of these handles. Here's a craft tip for you. I use a cheesecloth or a tack cloth. It is a little tacky, and I run that over my wood pieces to get all of those little sanding particles, dust, those type of things off of my project before I paint it. Working on Santa's beard, I used the all-purpose caulk, and I got that in like the mechanic section of the Dollar Tree, but you can get it at Walmart and other places. Caulk does dry out, so work quickly. So I just do little dabs and work quickly with my little thing. I'm showing you here because I just grabbed some ribbon rolls and I cut it. I'm going to use that for a holder to so that I can paint my Santa's beard all the way around so that it can dry, because it takes all day, or like if I do it at night, it takes overnight for it to completely dry. The caulk will dry out, so make sure you keep your cap on your caulking, and also don't put a whole lot if you're going to do it like I did on a little plate. Put little dabs as you need it, because you'll kind of see, I'm just using a stick here, and you will see once you're kind of spreading it on. I just kind of dab it on and spread it almost kind of like you're frosting a cake kind of thing, and you will kind of tell when it's like, okay, I need to hurry up. So just a little crafting tip for you. Okay, my beards are completely dry, and I'm going to make him a rustic or country Santa, and I do that by just taking some brown paint, putting a little dab of that on my plate, and then I water the paint down so it's really thin, and then I'm just going to take my paintbrush and just dab it and just kind of go all the way around the beard, just kind of hitting the spots and taking a paper towel, wiping off a lot of it, because I don't want the beard to be brown, but I want it to be distressed or get the, hints of the brown, so it makes him more of a rustic Santa. I will go over the entire face with the brown paint as well, just doing some shading and highlighting Santa's features. For the eyes, I will most always use a black Sharpie marker, and I just draw two little ovals just right under the little eyebrows. So that's why it's good to put the eyebrows on first, so then I kind of know where I want to put my eyes for the little character faces that I like to do. Like to give all of my little faces just two little eyelashes on the very bottom of their eyes. I just love, that's just kind of my way to do faces, and so I'm just using a thin paintbrush to do that. Santa's nose, I use the little knobs or the little plugs that they're little wood turnings. You can buy them unfinished at the craft store, and I just paint the little nose a coral color or a rose color, and depending on the size of my face will depend on the size of nose that I'm going to give my little Santa. The large Santa is using a 3/8 inch little knob, and the small Santa is using a 1/4 inch knob. I also like to give all of my little faces some rosy red cheeks, and I use a flat paintbrush and some coral paint by doing that. I like to do that before I put the wood nose on, but for some reason I got ahead of myself and glued those noses on there. But it was not a big deal. I just took my flat paintbrush and just made some cheeks for the little Santas. Now, to enhance the eyes a little bit more, I am just going to use a very thin paintbrush that I have, and I'm just going to take my paintbrush with some white paint and just kind of enhance those eyes just a little bit, so it just gives Santa just a little bit more character. My Santa's a cute fluffy little beard, and I use this yarn to do that. To create his beard, I just make some loops with the yarn, just wrapping it around my fingers. I usually use 2 fingers and wrap it around 3 to 4 times for the small paintbrush, 4 or 5 for the large paintbrush. I will wrap it around, and then I will cut a piece of the yarn and I will tie it in the center. And then once I have it tied in the center, I will use my scissors and then I will cut those loops, and then that is what gives it the fluffiness. I'm using my Tim Holtz scissors, but I'm like, what is wrong with you? You need to use your cutter bees. And so on the second one, I am, I've come to my senses, and I'm using my cutter bees because you want a short little sharp scissors so you can get in between those loops and you can make those little fluffs and puffs. Now for the fun part, we're going to just embellish our Santa, and I'm just using some little miniature candy canes, some greenery, some berries, and some cute little jingle bells. Now I'm going to make the ornament hanger. I'm using some jute that I did pick up from the Dollar Tree as well, and this homespun fabric. Homespun is fabric that you can see on both sides, and it's perfect for country decorating, such as these adorable little Santas. So I just have a little strip of homespun. I tear it because it gives a ragged edge, and love that in my decorating. So I'm just cutting a piece of the homespun, and I'm just gonna I put it through the little hole and just tied it one time, and then I'm going to get my jute and I'm going to kind of tie it on top of that homespun so that it all kind of ties in together. So just slipping that jute through that hole, I'm going to thread my jingle bell on there. My intention was to put 2 jingle bells on the large one and 1 on the small one, but I had already had it tied, and before I realized that I was gonna put 2 jingle bells on the big one and 1 on the small one, but it is what it is, so I didn't want to have to undo it. So you know, it's your choice if you want to just do 1 jingle bell or 2 jingle bells, whatever you like. I found these plastic candy canes over at the Dollar Tree, and they're just really cute size to decorate for this type of country craft. And so I just take strips of homespun. Homespun fabric is fabric that is you can see on both sides, and it's used in country decorating and country things. And so I just have like a 1/2 inch of blue homespun fabric, and I just glued the edge of the candy cane just with hot glue, and then I'm just going to fold it over on itself so that it kind of wraps around the actual candy cane, and then I just proceed and just wrap all the way around until I get to the top, and then I just secure it with some hot glue as well. once you finish wrapping the homespun fabric all the way around, just take some scissors and just trim off where you want and just hot glue that down together. You can use your scissors to trim off any of the extra little tails that you may have or little strings that you don't want on your actual candy cane. Now I have a piece of craft colored cardstock that I'm going to be creating the little bitty tags. Just hand wrote those tags, and I'm going to be using a punch that I got at the craft store. If you don't have this particular punch, you can find one using your Cricut cartridge, or if you have Design Space on the Cricut Explorer, you can find some different kind of tags. Okay, I have this little Christmas tree stamp. It says 2001 Stampin' Up, so I'm not quite sure if it's still around. And I'm going to be stamping on a mouse pad. I like to do this when I stamp because it leaves a better impression. And I'm going to be using some green Memento ink, just taking the little Christmas tree stamp, and I'm going to just stamp it in the corner of each of the tags so that it really ties in that Christmas feel for this entire little project. I took an ultra fine black Sharpie marker and I made some dash lines or stitch lines all the way around each of the little tags. And then I'm going to hand write Merry Christmas on the tag, and I will doodle it up by putting the little dots on each of the letters. And then after I finish that, I'm going to get some brown ink and ink around the edges of the tag so that it gives it kind of an antique or age-old little look. And then to make it even more, I will take it and I will crumble it up and just kind of bend it back and forth and just kind of crumble it up. And then I'll take the little ink pad and I'll just go around the actual tag so that it gives it a really aged little look.
These Merry Christmas candy canes were so fun to put together. Now, these are some of the supplies I'm using. I decided not to use the white fleece. I liked the black and white candy canes the best. And so the candy canes are plastic candy canes from the Dollar Tree. And I just have some ribbon, this buffalo, black and white buffalo check ribbon. And how I do my candy canes, I just wrap the ribbon. You know, I just usually start at the bottom and just kind of curl the ribbon on top, over each other and hot glue it so it stays. And sometimes I will put a dot of hot glue as I'm going along so that the ribbon or the fabric will stay in place. And these are so fun. I have made some others for Christmas, my homespun candy canes, as well as some maybe for Halloween. I did some boo sticks. And so candy canes are just not just for Christmas. You can make them for other holidays as well. I think I've done some Liberty sticks also for 4th of July. And maybe some for the spring. And so that is always an option just for, I love these in my primitive country home with my primitive country decor. The fat quarters, I found this fabric at Walmart, and I just you take my scissors and I just cut about 1-inch strips, and then I just rip the fabric so it gives a ragged, jagged edge. And then I'm doing it the same way that I did with the ribbon. I just turn it over on itself, and I'll hot glue every now and then to kind of, have it stay in place. And then I'll just continue wrapping it around until I get to the end. Now, I did 3 different patterns. I have the buffalo check. I have the larger Swiss dots. That's what I kind of call them, polka dot. And then I have the mini Swiss dots or polka dots that I'm going to put in my little jar for my little Christmas decoration. I'm going to make a tag for my jar, and I just have these like manila tags. I know you can get them like at office supply stores or Amazon. I have no idea where I got these from. I bought a whole bunch of them many years ago, and I just distress them a little bit. And so I like to use them for little projects like this. And so I'm just taking that large Posca pen and just hand lettering Merry Christmas. I'll put my happy dots on the ends, and so it looks really cute. And then I'm going to go back with the PC1M, and I just go around and just add a little bit of doodling to it. And then I'm going to show you how I distress it a little bit more with my ink and crumble it up or fold it so it looks kind of aged. For this project, I'm using this Nativity Decor piece that I got from Hobby Lobby. I'm also using some other supplies. My base of my project is an 11 by 14 inch canvas, and I am going to just use some milk chocolate acrylic paint, and I am just going to paint the whole thing inside and around the outside with 2 coats of this paint. I'll go around the entire canvas with my stiff stencil brush and a wooden stick and some buttermilk paint, and just splatter paint the entire canvas. I'll also go around the front of the edges. Now for the nativity decor, I'm just giving it a coat of black paint and just acrylic paint, nothing, no fancy paint or anything. And I'm just taking a paintbrush and just going around the top because the edges are like lasered and they're already brown, so I don't need to waste my time with that. So I am just giving this thing, I just want it to look like a silhouette, and I'm leaving the part where the star is because I plan to paint that gold. For my star, I wanted to add some gold paint, but this puffy paint in gold was the only thing I had on hand. And so it is a bit translucent. You can kind of see through it, but that's okay. I gave it a couple of coats of that. Well, then I discovered that since it's translucent, you can see through it. And so I decided to go over the nativity decor, over that black, and just give it a bit of glitter to it. I know there are a lot of my friends and family that gasp at glitter, but glitter doesn't bother me too much. And this doesn't flake off or anything, but I think it looks really pretty. For my Oh Holy Night sign, I'm using just this wooden plaque. I get it in a set from the craft store. I'm just giving it a coat of buttermilk paint. And then with my black paint in my brush, I am just going to give it a border. I paint the sides first, and then I just go around and kind of just freehanding it because I don't want it to be all straight. And then I'm going to go back and hand letter Oh Holy Night. Before I hand letter, I took that gold puffy paint, which is translucent, and I went over the border. Once I finish the entire sign, I will go back over it, but I was kind of doing things in stages. I wasn't sure that it did, this puffy paint is translucent and you kind of went over it, and it gave it a really nice, pretty effect, which I really like. Anyway, so then now I'm just taking some brown, that milk chocolate paint, and I'm just doing some shading where the buttermilk paint meets the black, and just with a flat paintbrush I just dip half of my brush in paint, the other half in clean water, and that's how I shade my signs. So then now what I'm doing is I have a Posca pen. It is a PC-5M. It is a kind of like a paint pen, and I'm just hand lettering Oh Holy Night. And if you've been following me for a while, I love my happy dots on the ends of my letters, and so that's what I've decided to do here. And so as I was going along, I was doing my dots, and I was like, something just doesn't feel right. And so there was just like a little piece of, I don't know, paint or something that was hindering me making my sweet little happy dots. And so once I was able to clean that off, I was able to go back and make my dots the size that I wanted them to. So anyway, no matter how long I've been doing this, obstacles always, stand in my way, or, things happen. I also put a layer of the puffy paint in gold over my sign because it's, like I said, it's translucent, and it just makes everything sweet and starry. For my canvas, I'm using these 2 pieces of scrapbook paper. Both of them came from Hobby Lobby, and I'm just trying to figure out, I want of course, my nativity to be the focal point of it. And so I'm just trying to figure out how I want my night sky to be. So I end up turning over the paper and then just taping them together. And then I'm really just going to kind of piece them in inside the canvas. The canvas has that wooden frame, and so there's like a gap in between, and so that I can slip my paper in there. It's just kind of trying to figure out how I want my paper to go. I didn't want it, just to get the night sky kind of the way that I wanted it. So I had to trim off a little bit of the paper and finagle with it a little bit. I'm going to put my trim around the canvas, and I have 2 trims that I'm using. This one right here came from Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to put that one on first, just hot gluing it on. The second trim came from the Dollar Tree, and I just, like I said, hot glue everything on and until it's all secure. Just adding some fine Excelsior to the bottom of my canvas before I put on my nativity silhouette decor piece. I just think the Excelsior adds a hay effect and also a bit of whimsy. Also using some of that puffy paint, gold translucent paint. I'm just going over the scrapbook paper just to give it, some enhancement and some sparkle to it. For dimension, I'm using some of these tumbling tower blocks or Jenga blocks. I just painted them black so they would blend in with my nativity decor. And so then I'm just hot gluing the blocks to the back of the nativity decor. I've already figured out where I, make sure that I need them placed, and then I'll hot glue that to the frame. And so, like I said, I've already kind of figured out where I needed them to be glued to the nativity decor so that I wouldn't get it too low or, sticking out or that kind of thing. And so then for the Oh Holy Night sign, I thought that I was going to do dimension blocks as well, but I decided to just glue that, put some hot glue at the top and then just glue it straight to the top of that frame. For a hanger, I'm going to use some of these wooden beads. Now, I'm going to get questions about those. That black and brown strand I got from Walmart in the Christmas section, and the other 2 came from Hobby Lobby, one from the fall section, and then the other is from the Christmas shop. And so I just took off some of the black and the brown, and then I just have that the larger one, which is from the fall garland from Hobby Lobby. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use 2 black, 2 brown, and then the larger one I'm going to put in the middle. I'm using some wire. to attach the wire beads to my frame, I just used my electric staple gun and I just stapled the wire to the frame, and then actually did it a couple of times. And to cover those staples up, I'm using these buttons. Now I had these buttons on hand, and so then they were like in a pack, and they're just, you can get old buttons anywhere. Anyway, but these had the little like buttonhole or button loop on the back, and so I just took my wire cutters and just cut that off, and then that hides those staples up very nicely. I just hot glued a couple of sticks of the branches as well as the greenery to my little nativity. I just kind of played with it a little bit just to figure out exactly how much and where I wanted it to stick out of. And then I'm going to make a little junk bow. I just had this ribbon left, and so I said, I'll make a little bow to add to the top. So I have just some of that buffalo, black and white buffalo check, and then some of the lace trims, everything I used on this decor. And then I like to use this jewelry cording, and I make bows out of it and add that to my junk bow or messy bow or refab bow, whatever you want to call it. This is a cute little bow to make to add to your creations. Using some of these things from the Dollar Tree as well as some other places. I will kind of let you know where all of the supplies came from as I get to it. I'm going to start with this little Christmas box. Now, my son and my grandson had given me my gift in this box, and I said, oh, that is the cutest little snowman. And so instantly I said, I could transform him. So that's what I'm going to do. The base of what I am going to, adhere that to are these two signs from Halloween from the Dollar Tree. I liked the edge of them. They kind of look jagged, and I thought that would look really cute with some snow, faux snow on them for a wintry scene. Okay, the first thing I'm trying to do is get these staples out. They were pretty deep in there, and I've used a couple of different tools, but what helped the best was this upholstery tool. Now, a sweet viewer had shared this with me in a different video. It is linked in my Amazon shop if it's something that you're interested in checking out, but it helps get out those deep staples. I guess they use them in upholstery shops. Anyway, and so now what I'm doing, I'm just trying to figure out how I want my signs to butt up where they kind of, lay nicely together. And so then I have some paint sticks I just picked up at the hardware store like Lowe's, or it was probably Lowe's. And so then I'm just cutting off about an inch because they're a tad too long, and if I'm just making this for myself, and so if I were to be giving this away or selling it, I would definitely cover up this back, but it doesn't matter to me since I'm keeping it for myself. Anyway, so I am just hot gluing this sticks to the back of the signs just for stability. Then to cover up like that seam where the signs are together, I just have some of this kind of like filler spackle from the Dollar Tree, and I am just going around and just putting it in between where that where the signs meet, and then also in the holes of the staple. And I should have wet my fingers already, because once I took a baby wipe and tried to clean up a little bit, I discovered that it actually goes on a little more smoother. So I didn't know, like, once I painted the crackle technique on it, I didn't know if it would, if the spackle were to adhere to, it and that kind of thing, which it did. It worked out just fine, but I didn't know at the moment. Now I'm just using some buttermilk Americana paint. It's just acrylic paint. I want that to be the bottom layer because that is what's going to show through the cracks, because I'm going to put my this color, then a crackle medium layer, and then navy blue on top. And so this right here is what is going to show through the cracks. So I'm using some crackle medium, and you can get this at the craft store, or I do have it linked in my Amazon store. And so I like to use the crackle technique on a lot of my projects. And so I am just, just putting some here on the board, and then I just take my brush and just go over it. And it's, I kind of take my time with it. I make sure that all of the areas are covered. And one of the ways that I kind of can tell is if I kind of hold the sign up or whatever I'm doing, I kind of hold it up, and I can kind of see if there's like a spot that I miss. Okay, while my crackle medium sign is drying, I completely let that dry completely. And so what I'm doing is I'm working on my snowman. And so I cut off like a bit of the excess of the box. And so then I'm going to start tearing it because, you can see like in the picture, I am going to distress the edges, and it kind of looks to me like some wood. And so it all kind of ties the project together for me. So I'm just taking my time, and I'm going around the edges of the snowman, and where my left hand is, where my finger is, I am just holding that. I'm kind of positioning it there, and then I'm tearing along where I want my tear to be, because that is what helps me guide it, so that I don't tear too much into the actual snowman. And so I just go around and I just tear off as much of the, cardboard that I want. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to distress it with my favorite distress ink, which is a vintage photo, Distress Ink by Tim Holtz. I'm using my Posca pen in white, the PC3M, and I'm going to show you here. It kind of, just like a paint pen, it kind of came out a little extra on, on the hat, but that's okay. We're going to make it work. I'm just going with it. And so I use my heat tool to kind of set that up. I'll go back over, and doodle up everything with my black Sharpie marker and make everything really cute. I thought he had a really cute face already, so I didn't do anything extra to that. Yeah, just adding a little bit more character. For the winter blessings little sign for my decor, I'm using the bottom of the box, and I'm just cutting away some of the excess that I don't need, and to give myself, some writing space. I'm using this Posca pen. It's a PC-5M, which is one of my favorites for little projects like this. And it's like a paint pen, so you have to shake it up and, make sure that you have the ink to come down. And so I'm just hand lettering winter blessings on it. And I'll do that by, just writing out the words, and then doing my little happy dots on each end of the letters. It's just something that I like to do for myself. And then for the dot of each eye, I am going to do a snowflake. I'll do the same thing with my sign. I will cut off the excess of the box, and then I'm going to tear around the edges to give it the jagged or ragged edge, or the ripped edge. I want to, I find like tearing it towards myself or towards my body, that is what gives it the look that I want. If I would tear it the other way, it would give it a whole different look. So just, if you like this look, just, play around with it and see the different looks that you can get by tearing your paper different ways, so that, it gives you the look that you want. Just using that same ink in Vintage Photo, I'm just going around the sign with my finger dauber and just giving it some color. And then I'll also do the same thing with a Q-tip. I'll just use that, my ink, and go around the letters just for extra depth and dimension. Then I'm going to use my Posca pen, the PC-3M, and just highlighting the dots of the ends of the letters just for some highlight. Now that my crackle medium is all dry, it will be shiny, but there's no wetness to it. I'm using this blue paint. It is a Deep Midnight Blue by Americana. It's just an acrylic paint, and I work in sections because actually it starts to crack right before your eyes, and so I want to avoid taking my brush and going over it several times, so I try to get as much paint on my brush. I load my brush as much as possible, where I only have to do one downstroke, so that I don't go over it. Because I don't know, it just doesn't give a really pretty effect. And once I show you how it all dries, you'll kind of see what I'm talking about, because if I go over it a little bit more, it does tend to not crack as nicely. So now my board is all dry, and you can kind of see it gives it a really, really nice crackle finish. And so then now I'm just going to attach my sign and my snowman, and I want him to be three-dimensional. And so I achieve that just with some little wooden blocks from the Dollar Tree, the Jenga blocks or tumbling tower blocks that you find in the kids toy section. And so I'm just hot gluing those to the back of my snowman. Then I'll glue those to the sign or to my back sign, and then I'll also do the winter blessings as well. And then I couldn't decide if I wanted to use the burlap snowflakes or the white snowflakes, so I was just kind of back and forth a little bit, trying to figure out which ones I wanted to use, because I wanted to use both of them. But since I did the distressing on the snowman and the sign, and this is rustic, I ended up using the burlap snowflakes from Hobby Lobby. I'm using these wintry branches. Now I picked these up at Walmart. they were in the, floral section, and they look icy branches. And so I'm just trying to figure out, how do I want to put them? So then I needed something to stick them into. So I pulled out my trusty Excelsior. It gives, a barrier, something for it to stick to, and also adds a bit of whimsy, which I do like. And so I'm just hot gluing that to the bottom of the snowman, and then will attach the the icy looking branches to the bottom of the snowman. For his bow, I decided to make a bow for to put where his scarf is, and so to kind of camouflage the redness of the scarf. So I have this 2.5-inch ribbon from Hobby Lobby. It's just a polka dot ribbon, and I'm just making a 2-loop bow, and I use my little tiny attacher stapler to hold it together in the middle. And at first I was going to use this one, this check one, but then I decided, no, I'm not going to use that. So I wrap that back up, put that to the side. I'm using some different trims, and so if you've watched my videos for a while, when I make my little messy bows, junk bows, refab bows, whatever you want to call them, my little bows like this, I like to use a different kind of trims and ribbons, because it just adds just some different texture to your bows. And so I have this these trims. I get my trims at Hobby Lobby, Walmart, anywhere like little trims like this are sold. And so I'll just continue to make my bow. I'm also using some muslin fabric. I don't know if I said that already, but I'm using some muslin fabric that I already had ripped, and just cutting that off in strips. I'll go back later and clean it up once I get my bow done. I'm just using a pipe cleaner to gather it all in the center, and then I will use my needle nose pliers to help get it really, really tight, because I want my bow to pop. And what I mean by that is, like, when I get it really, really tight, it kind of like shakes around and it like perks up those ribbons, because that is the look that I'm going for. And by getting that pipe cleaner really, really tight, I can have that little pop of my bow. To attach my bow, I'm pulling out a bit more of the Excelsior, and then I'll hot glue that to the scarf that's on the snowman. And so the object is, I want to kind of take away or camouflage that redness of the scarf, and then I just use my scissors to trim up any of the ribbon tails that don't lay right. Anyway, so then now I am going to use some all-purpose caulk from the Dollar Tree, and I want to give my snowman some faux snow, and so I'm just using some caulk and a stick, and I want to camouflage some of those or cover up some of those red berries that's on the snowman's hat from this particular snowman. And so I'm just taking some of those frosted branches and more of the caulk, and just kind of putting some of that in there so that it kind of covers up those red berries and stuff. And so then I'll just go around and I'll just add some more caulking, just by just giving it just some faux snow, just hitting the high areas. I kind of just play with it until I like the look of it, and just continue to add some faux snow to my sign. Then, to give it extra glisten, I add some Martha Stewart's fine glitter. And so if you don't like glitter, then don't do this part, but I like to use this fine glitter, and then I go over my caulking just to give it a little of snow glistening. I do the same thing at the top. That's why I liked these signs from the Dollar Tree. They were Halloween signs, and I just liked the jagged edge. It kind of reminded me of, something that you would see like an old picket fence. And so I just take my caulking and just go around the top of the of my sign, and just around the top of the, winter blessings. Also, I am sprinkling on some glitter. I know the camera and the video does not pick up the glistening of the sign, but I love the way that this turned out. I decided just to have it set against, like my little setup here. I'm not going to put a hanger on it. My first intention was I was going to put a hanger on it, but I just like it without a hanger, just in my little winter decor setup that I have here, and I hope that you love it too. These Christmas faux books are so fun to create, and I like to make them out of wood planks. And these are all of the supplies that I'm going to use in this project. I like to, if I don't have scrap wood, I use these wood pile wood planks from Hobby Lobby, and I gave each of them 2 coats of plaster color chalk paint. And so then I'm going to use this distress ink and a paper towel and just go around all of the edges just to give it a distress. It just kind of takes, a little bit of the white down a bit, and, just gives me the rustic distress look that I like. I'm going to hand letter and write on these books with this Posca paint marker. It's a PC1M, and it's some God-given talent that he has given to me that I can share with all of you, but I just, I love to hand letter. I love to write and do happy dots, and so that's what most of my projects do. And so what you see, what I'm doing here is I just need just some leverage so that I can write on my books, so my hand has somewhere to set. So that's why I keep pushing the books back and forth. Anyway, so I'm writing Silent Night on one of the books and then Holy Night on the other book. And then I take the larger Posca pen, which is a PC5M, and then I just put my happy dots on each of the books that I wrote on. Now you could use stamps, or you could use stickers, or maybe something else that I'm not even thinking about. Or you could leave your books plain and create an adorable arrangement for it for your decor. So it's just really, the options are it's just limited. I'm just taking that 1M marker and just going around and just adding a bit of doodling to each of the edges of the books. These styrofoam gold and silver bowl fillers are from the Dollar Tree, and like I said, they're styrofoam, and so I just took my serrated knife that I have in my craft room, and then I cut them in half. I cut 2 of them in half, and I'm going to use 3 of them for kind of like some buttons or something, just something to kind of break that up on the edges. And then now I just have this buffalo check ribbon that I have on hand, and I'm just going to make a bow, and I'm going to add some greenery and some frosted berries to complete this little faux book arrangement decor. this little wooden gingerbread man is from the Dollar Tree, and it has the raised areas on the back, but I don't want to use that. I am going to actually use the smooth side where it doesn't have any of the raised parts. I'm using some of this spackle patch from the Dollar Tree just to fill that small hole at the top so that it's all smooth. I gave my gingerbread man 2 coats of brown acrylic paint. You can use any color of brown that you want. My favorite for my gingerbread man is this milk chocolate. It's an Americana brand, but depending on what brand of paint you use will depend on the names of the different paints, but I like this brown color. Once I give my gingerbread man 2 coats of the brown paint and it's dry, then I am doing some shading. I want to give a bit of definition and depth to my gingerbread man. And as you can see there, if I mess up a little bit, a baby wipe is one of my best friends and best tools in my craft room. Anyway, so I'll just continue to shade that around there until I like the look of it. The next step I'm giving some cheeks, and I'm just using some barn red or a deep red for my gingerbread for the cheeks. And I like to use a stencil brush, and I kind of stipple it on. I do lighter at first until I, kind of get the look that I'm going for. And so then I'll just continue to stipple on and until I like the look that I want. And then next I'm going to draw some eyes, and I usually start out with my black Sharpie marker. With the eyes, I make like an almond shape, kind of, have them together at the top. That's just the look that I like. I start with a black Sharpie marker, and then I go back and then I will do paint, for the eyes. Then I have a very thin old brush that I've had for many years that I just do little eyelashes. I like my little faces to be cute and have cute little expressions, and I achieve that with just the little brushes that I have. And I'll also add some eyelashes, some eyebrows, and then I'll do just a little mouth. I'll just draw that little mouth on with my black Sharpie marker. My sign, I'm using a 7x3 inch wood plaque. I get them at Walmart. I know Dollar Tree has them in the Crafter Square section. Hobby Lobby has them in their unfinished wood section. There are different places that have these wood planks if you're interested in them. Okay, I'm just taking my paintbrush and my true red Americana paint. It's just a red paint, and I'm just going to give it a border. I just, take my paintbrush and I just go around the border. You can use a ruler to, mark it off if you don't feel confident in, painting the little border. And then in between the coats to help dry it, I use my heat tool and just dry it up so that I can give it 2 coats of paint. Then I'll use my little liner brush and some white paint and just go around and give it some white dashes or stripes or whatever whatever you want to call them. I just like that look. Then I'm going to use my 1/2 inch flat paintbrush and some milk chocolate brown paint and do some shading around the edges of where the white paint meets the red paint, and I like that look. It just gives a little bit more depth and character to my projects. I'm going to hand letter Merry Christmas on this sign, and when I got to the M in Christmas, I got it a little bit closer together than what I wanted to. This isn't my best brush. I should have used a different brush, but anyway, I'm going to show you how I fix it if my letters get a little bit too close, as you can see here. And I'm going to go ahead and add a button to the eye. And so at first I was like, I was going to scratch this and repaint it. But then I was like, you know what? This will give me an opportunity to share with my viewers how I correct something if my painting doesn't come out the way that I want it to. And so anyway, I'm just, putting hand lettering that on there and just putting some dots on the ends of the letters because I like my happy dots. Okay, this is what I was talking about. My M is a little bit too close, so I just take some of that off-white paint and just go through and just with my liner brush. And my favorite brushes are linked in my Amazon store, and you can find the link in the description. Just underneath this video, there's a description box. It might be a little triangle or an arrow or something. If you click that little arrow, it will expand the box. Going to add some splatter paint to my projects. I like that look. I achieve it just with an old stencil brush and a stick. I just run it across the brush. Some friends have shared that they use their fingers across the brush, or they'll use an old toothbrush, a toothpick, anything like that to achieve this look. That's just, entirely a personal preference. And then I'll just go around my gingerbread man as well as my sign, and I will give it extra doodling with my To decorate my gingerbread man, I have one of the garland ties from the Dollar Tree, and to get it to stay on my gingerbread, I have my crocodile, and I'm using the larger hole punch, and I am just figuring out here, I want it to look like the garland, or like the gingerbread man is holding the garland, and so I'm just punching holes in like where the hands are, where it looks like he's holding the garland, and then I will just thread that through, and then I'm going to decorate the garland with some pip berries, some rusty jingle bells, some I added some buttons, and make it look really cute. Oh, and some fabric ribbon. I just cut strips of fabric and tied them onto the garland. I did this part on my Facebook, Country Charm by Tracy Facebook page. So I have a Facebook Live. I will have a link in the description below as an option if some of my friends want to see that whole entire thing where I'm live chatting with whoever was, popping on the video. I know here on YouTube that a lot of people don't like the chatting and all of that that stuff. So that's why I tried to trim this down and just show exactly how I did this gingerbread craft. So what I'm doing here is I cut strips of fabric and then I cut smaller strips and I'm tying them on the garland, 4 little ties where it looks like bows on the gingerbread garland. Then I will add some pip berries. The garland strand, the one with the little rusty jingle bells, I got from Joann's, and then the pip berries I got from Hobby Lobby in the miniature ornament section. For the sign that I'm using is one left over from the Dollar Tree. It was from summer, and I just sanded off the majority of the glitter. The paper is from Hobby Lobby, and I just measured it and just cut it to fit. And I'm going to layer with my or actually attach that with my adhesive tape glider. It is just double-sided tape, and it's just a holder that you can put your tape in and you can glide it. It is linked in my Amazon store, or you can find them at the craft store or different places. And so I just use it to attach the paper to my sign. So then once I do that, then I'm going to add some shading with my Vintage Photo Distress ink. And then once I do that, then I will add some green rickrack and continue with then putting on my gingerbread. For my hanger, I am using some wire that I got at Michael's in the floral section, and I'm just using some beads. Now, I got these wooden beads. The brown and the red are from Walmart in the Christmas section, and the larger natural one is from Hobby Lobby. I got those on sale from the fall season. And so then I am just threading on. I'll show a picture here to share exactly how my beads looked on my sign. Now it's time to work on the bow, and I'm just cutting strips of that same fabric and then also using some ribbons. Now I get most of my ribbons either from Hobby Lobby, Walmart, or Dollar Tree, and I like the burlap from the Dollar Tree. I'm just cutting off a piece of that. I'm just making a messy bow, junk bow, refab bow, whatever you want to call it. I'm just making a bow for my hanger. And then I just kind of just tear off or just cut off pieces of the ribbon. And for the center bow, that ribbon is from Hobby Lobby, and I just use my tiny attacher just to put, you know, a little staple in the middle. If you follow me for any length of time, you know that I love my little tiny attacher. And then I just gather everything together, and I put it together first, and then I said, I wanted to put some green in there. So I untwisted it. I used a pipe cleaner to twist everything together, but I just cut off strips of that rickrack and just included it in the bow, and I think it looks really cute. Okay, this is going to be my cute Santa that I made as a wreath attachment for this cute wreath. Now, what I'm using is an ornament from the Dollar Tree, as well as a Santa hat, the buffalo red and black check, and the faux fur is from Hobby Lobby, and the 1 3/4 inch balls are from Hobby Lobby. I got those on sale a couple of, I don't know, a few months ago when they were, you know, clearancing out some stuff. Anyway, but they are, smooth on one side so that they will fit nicely on my Santa. Okay, so for the little tag, I'm just using my heat tool just to get that tag off. I'm not painting it or anything because the fur is going to cover everything up. And so the first thing I do is just kind of smooth out my fur, just kind of position it on my ornament where I want it to go. I'm kind of just, arranging my hat, just kind of see where I want to lay everything before I glue it down. I'm going to want my beard to have, like a beard shape where it angles down. So I'm just kind of, was folding it down just to kind of get the shape that I want it before I cut it off. Now, I had just, bended it over, and I'm using my box blade, and I'm just taking my marker and just marking where I want to cut the felt. And the object is to cut the felt and not go all the way through to cut the cut the fur actually itself. So I'm just taking my time. I'm going through and just an X-Acto knife or something else that might work, but this is just what I had on hand, and I'm just trying to cut through the fur and not like I'm trying to cut through the felt and not cut the fur to give it a choppy look. So I'm gluing my hat on now, just trying to figure out how far I want it down. I'm just using some stuffing that I got, from Walmart, something like that. An old sock would work, plastic bags, old rags, something like that. But this is just something that I had on hand. And I just kind of put some, I wanted that to give it a little bit of form. And so then now I glue on my nose, and I did that first because I wanted to ensure that I had the right placement before I glue on my beard. And I want my hat to kind of go down over the nose, and this is a 1 3/4 inch wooden ball that was flat on one side, and so I just want to make sure that everything is nice and where I want it to be before I glue everything down. For the top of my hat, I'm just bending over the tip of it and just kind of fluffing out the ball of the hat. I have two 30mm rusty jingle bells. Now I had these on hand. I know that, Amazon has, jingle bells, and there's other places that you can find them. I just have some wire that I just threaded them through and just tied them to the ball of the hat. I'm just kind of positioning it so that they are toward the top. And so I just have one of these garland ties that come from the Dollar Tree. I had it on hand. Everything that I'm working with is something that I had on hand from previous years. And so anyway, I had just cut a strip of muslin fabric and just tied it around the hat. And just now I'm just fooling with it just to kind of get my bells and my fabric, my garland, everything, positioned on the top. And then what I do is I glue it down there so it stays nice and, stays in spot, or stays in place right there. And so, now, this is just the back of it. I'm just kind of taking off the fuzz. And anyway, so, I'm looking at it because I'm like, that beard's a little bit too long. So I end up a little bit, before I attach it to the wreath, I end up cutting it a little bit more. Now I'm going to start on the wreath. I'm using an 18-inch wire form and these 3 10-inch deco mesh. The wire form is from the Dollar Tree and the deco mesh are all from Hobby Lobby. And I just roll them out. I roll them all 3 at one time. Everybody has their own, or each wreath maker has their own way of doing things. And I'm cutting these at 12 inches. And I cut all 3 at one time because I'm going to put all 3 of them together and put them into or tie them onto the wreath. I actually made 24 bundles of these 3, and I'm just using the curl or cruffle technique. And how I do it, I just bend over the ends. I clip it with a little clamp that I get from the Dollar Tree and clamp that like that. I do each one of these the same way, and then I'm just going to layer them, crisscrossing them, make like an X pattern or a star or something like that. And and then I tie all 3 of these on the wreath, and like I said, I made 24 bundles. I just use some pipe cleaners and just attach them to the wreath form. On this one right here, I put the pipe cleaner on the inner ring, and then I go on the outer ring, and then I go on the inner ring. And so that I kind of stagger it. And so that is kind of how I make my wreaths. Just kind of tie those on there like that. And the clips from those blue and white clips, I get from the Dollar Tree. I find them in the laundry section, and I love those clips, clamps, or whatever you want to call them, because they open very wide, and they help with streamlining and help just kind of hold things together, so that they kind of act as an extra pair of hands for me, or extra fingers. And I am all about convenience, I tell you. So I just love how full and how just all of this, I just love all of these different colors together. And because the Santa, was so big, I ended up using the 18-inch wire frame, and I'm so glad that I did. These are the ribbons I'm using in this wreath. first 3 came from Hobby Lobby. The Merry Christmas burlap came from Sam's, and the red and black buffalo check I've had on hand for a couple of years, and that came from Dollar General. And so I cut these at 13 inches using my Perfect Tails ribbon helper. It kind of helps me with, twisting my ribbon around it, and then I can cut it all at one time, and then I dovetail it what I want. So what I'm showing you here is I put these 2 patterns together, and I help myself by kind of get my bundles together. I just put these 2 together, and then the other 3 I will make that a bundle. I use my tiny attacher, my little stapler. It is just a handy little tool that I use in my craft room that helps with my bow making. Since I have 24 bundles, I need 24 bundles of ribbon. So I have 12 of each. And so for these 3 right here, I'm just making a bow with some raffia because I'm going to put that in the middle of that. And that is what I am, the raffia, that's what I'm putting in those bundles. And I just trim off the excess and just hit it with some hot glue to kind of seal the middle of the, where the pipe cleaner goes. And for the these larger jingle bells, I got these from Hobby Lobby a long time ago. I don't know what the millimeter is. It doesn't say it on the package, but they're large jingle bells. They were in the miniature ornament section, and so I'm going to put these jingle bells in the middle of with the burlap Merry Christmas and the window pane ribbon. And so it was 6 of these jingle bells in this package. I've had them on, like I said, I got them when they were clearancing out all of their stuff, many years ago. I pick up this kind of primitive country stuff, and so I had it on hand, so I am using it for this wreath, because I think it just all ties everything together. So my point is, just be on the lookout, even at thrift stores, Goodwill, yard sales, Marketplace on Facebook. People are always clearancing out stuff. And, check Amazon. They may have some of these large jingle bells as well. So I just alternated on the, just put the ribbon bundles in the top and the bottom. And then I just trim everything with my little scissors and fluff everything out. And so I just love this. I just love the whole country feel of this wreath. I'm really happy the way that it turned out. And so I always try to, fluff my ribbons out so that they're not stuck underneath. Okay, so then now I'm going to put on my Santa, and I'm like, yep, that beard is a little bit too long. So I go through the same thing again, just using my box blade and just cutting off, the felt, and just kind of tearing it as I go, not to cut the fur itself so that it still is wispy. To attach my Santa to the wreath, I'm using these cable tie mounts. Now these are listed in my Amazon store. I will have a link to that in the description box below if you're interested in these things that kind of help us attach these signs to our wreaths if you don't have, if they don't have holes in it. And so they are sticky already, but I like extra, glue to give it extra bonding because I don't want my signs to fall off. And so I just use E6000 and as well as some hot glue. So just using the pipe cleaners, I just threaded it through the mesh back to the frame, twisted it around the wire frame just so that everything is nice and snug. And then I'm just making sure that my Santa is where I wanted him to be. Now, guys, I'm going to put a note on this that I would not recommend this to be in the weather elements because of the fur, because with weather elements it gets all nasty. Anyway, I would just have it for inside use. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is I have this pine and it's faux pine. I've had it in my stash. It had a Hobby Lobby tag, so it's probably something I got last season. This silver thing right here, this is a stem cutter I got from Decor Exchange. I will have a link for it. It's an affiliate link that I'm going to list in the description box below if you're interested in checking it out. I had used some birthday money this past year to purchase it because it just has made my life so much easier. It's like a wire cutter, but I can just use it right there on my table, and I don't have to struggle with my wire cutters. Anyway, so with this pine, I had cut it all down nice, and so I used my steel picks machine to put a steel pick on the end of it, and then also my hot glue. I like to use the combination when I'm using putting it in deco mesh wreaths like this because it makes everything nice and snug. And if you saw my son's hands, he was in my room hanging out with me. I love that time like that. He was giving me his suggestions of where my holes were, and so I really appreciate it. Guys, so I bought some, just cut off the yard from Walmart and made the little hat for that. For the beard, I'm using some of this yarn from Hobby Lobby. I'm using the polyfill batting to bulk up my little hat. I used an ornament for the nose and some foam board to kind of tie everything together. I started with one of these Santa hats from the Dollar Tree. I just took off all of the tinsel. I didn't worry about the nubs around the edge or anything. I just covered all of that up and covered this with fleece. To bulk it up, I choose to use some of this extra loft batting, just quilt batting, and it's just the small, and it just gives some stability to my little project. So for my fleece, like I said, I was unable to find any of the scarves at the Dollar Trees that are near me, so I just covered this with a little fleece. I just cut it for the shape of that. And then I have this foam board that I just traced the hat and just kind of fussy cut it around, and I just painted the back and the front because that is what is I'm going to glue everything to, for my little gnome. For the nose, I'm just using an ornament from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to glue that right there underneath his hat. This is the yarn I decided to use. It is from Hobby Lobby. It's by Yarn Bee. Showstopper Sleepy Sky is the name of it, and I just thought that it looked really good because I liked, Santa to have a gray beard. Anyway, so what I did is I just took that yarn and just tied a knot in it, and then just cut it off, and then I'm going to glue those knots onto my foam board to create the little beard for Santa. So I didn't realize that I didn't hit record, but what I did is I just glued my Santa hat to the foam board just using some hot glue, and then now I'm just laying out my little beard kind of to see where I want to place them. I kind of had them a little shorter on the sides, and then it got longer in the middle. And then also I just hot glued the ornament to the foam board, and then I should have put it a little bit underneath his hat, but I forgot to do that. So if you do recreate it, make sure that you cover the nose a little bit more with the hat. That's one mistake that I made that I wish, but I already had everything glued down, but it's all right. It's a learning experience. Anyway, so then now I am just going to just put the like Santa beard and then hot glue everything down. Then I just covered any holes that may need additional yarn. I just added more yarn strands to fill up the little holes. To make a hanger for my little Santa Gnome to hang, I have just some wire, and since the backing is foam board, I'm just punching some holes in there and gonna slide that wire in the back, and then to kind of cover it up, I will cut a piece of felt and glue all of that down. After this was all finished and I was taking pictures, I realized that I didn't cover up the nose as much as I initially wanted to. So if I were to recreate it, I would definitely cover up more of his nose to give him that gnome look. Anyway, but I'm pretty satisfied with the way that this turned out, and I hope that you like it too. Please give me a